The purpose of this record is to show you how to use your imagination to achieve your every desire. Most men are totally unaware of the creative power of imagination and invariably bow before the dictates of facts and accept life on the basis of the world without. But when you discover this creative power within yourself, you will boldly assert the supremacy of imagination and put all things in subjection to it. When the man speaks of God in man, he is totally unaware that this power called God in man is man's imagination. This is the creative power in man. There is nothing under heaven that is not plastic as potter's clay to the touch of the shaping spirit of imagination. Once a man said to me, "You know, Neville, I love to listen to you talk about imagination. But as I do so, I invariably touch the chair with my fingers and push my feet into the rug, just to keep my sense of the reality and the profundity of things." Well, undoubtedly he is still touching the chair with his fingers and pushing his feet into the rug. But now let me tell you another one who didn't touch with her fingers and didn't push that foot of hers onto the board of the streetcar. It's the story of a young girl, just turned 17. It was Christmas Eve, and she is sad of heart. For that year, she had lost her father in an accident, and she's returning home to what seemed to be an empty house. She was untrained to do anything, so got herself a job as a waitress. This night is quite late, Christmas Eve. It's raining. The car is full of laughing boys and girls home for their Christmas vacation. And she couldn't conceal the tears. Luckily for her, as I said, it was raining. So she stuck her face into the heavens to mingle her tears with the rain. And then, holding the rail of the streetcar, this is what she did. She said, "This is not rain, but this is spray from the ocean. And this is not the salt of tears that I taste, but this is the salt of the sea in the wind. And this is not San Diego. This is a ship, and I'm coming into the Bay of Samoa." And there she felt the reality of all that she had imagined. Then came the end of the journey, and all are out. 10 days later, this girl received a letter from a firm in Chicago saying that her aunt, several years before, when she sailed for Europe, deposited with them $3,000 with instructions that if she did not return to America, this money should be paid to her niece. They had just received information of the aunt's death and were now acting upon her instructions. 1 month later, this girl sailed for Samoa. As she came into the bay, it was late that night, and there was salt of the sea in the wind. It wasn't raining, but there was spray in the air, and she actually felt what she felt 1 month before, only this time she had realized her objective. Now this whole record is technique. I want to show you today how to put your wonderful imagination right into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and let it remain there and fall asleep in that state. And I promise you from my own experience, you will realize the state in which you sleep if you could actually feel yourself right into the situation of your fulfilled desire and continue therein until you fall asleep. As you feel yourself right into it, remain in it until you give it all the tones of reality, until you give it all the sensory vividness of reality. As you do it, in that state, quietly fall into sleep. And in a way you will never know, you could never consciously devise the means that will be employed, you will find yourself moving across a series of events leading you towards the objective realization of this state. Now here is a practical technique. The first thing you do, you must know exactly what you want in this world. When you know exactly what you want, make as lifelike a representation as possible of what you would see and what you would touch and what you would do and physically moving in such a state. For example, suppose I wanted a home, but I had no money, but I still know what I want. without taking anything into consideration, I would make as lifelike a representation of the home that I would like, with all the things in it that I would want. And then, this night, as I would go to bed, I would, in a drowsy, sleepy state, the state that borders upon sleep, I would imagine that I am actually in such a house, that were I to step off the bed, I would step upon the floor of that house. Were I to leave this room, I would enter the room that is adjacent to my imagined room in that house. And while I am touching the furniture and feeling it to be solidly real, and while I am moving from one room to the other in my imaginary house, I would go sound asleep in that state. And I know that in a way I could not consciously devise, I would realize my house. I have seen it work time and time again. If I wanted promotion in my business, I would ask myself what additional responsibilities would be mine were I to be given this great promotion. What would I do? What would I say? What would I see? How would I act? And then in my imagination, I would begin to see and touch and do and act as I would outwardly see and touch and act were I in that position. If I now desired the mate of my life, were I now in search of some wonderful girl or some wonderful man, what would I actually find myself doing that would imply that I have found my state? For instance, suppose now I was a lady. One thing I would definitely do, I would wear a wedding ring. I would take my imaginary hands, and I would feel the ring that I would imagine to be there. And I would keep on feeling it until it seemed to me to be solidly real. I would give it all the sensory vividness I am capable of giving anything. And while I am feeling my imaginary ring, which implies I am married, I would sleep. This story is told us in the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon. It is said, "At night on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loveth. I found him whom my soul loveth, and I would not let him go, until I brought him into my mother's house, right into the chamber of her that conceived me." If I would take that beautiful poem and put it into modern English, into practical language, it would be this. While sitting in my chair, I would feel myself right into the situation of my fulfilled desire. And having felt myself into that state, I would not let it go. I would keep that mood alive, and in that mood, I would sleep. That is, taking it right into my mother's chamber, into the chamber of her that conceived me. You know, people are totally unaware of this fantastic power of the imagination. But when man begins to discover this power within him, he never plays the part that he formerly played. He doesn't turn back and become just the reflective life. From here on in, he is the affecter of life. The secret of it is to center your imagination in the feeling of the wish fulfilled and remain therein. For in our capacity to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled lies our capacity to live the more abundant life. Most of us are afraid to imagine ourselves as important and noble individuals, secure in our contribution to the world, just because at the very moment that we start our assumption, reason and our senses deny the truth of our assumption. We seem to be in the grip of an unconscious urge which makes us cling desperately to the world of familiar things and resist all that threatens to tear us away from our familiar and seemingly safe moorings. But I appeal to you to try it. If you try it, you will discover this great wisdom of the ancients, for they told it to us in their own strange, wonderful, symbolical form. But unfortunately, you and I misinterpreted their stories and took it for history when they intended it as instruction to simply achieve our every objective. You see, imagination puts us inwardly in touch with a world of states. These states are existent, they are present now, but they are mere possibilities while we think of them. But they become overpoweringly real when we think from them and dwell in them. You know, there's a wide difference between thinking of what you want in this world and thinking from what you want. Let me tell you, when I first heard of the strange and wonderful power of the imagination, it was in 1933 in New York City. An old friend of mine taught it to me. He turned to the 14th of John, and this is what he read. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. He explained to me that this central character of the Gospels was human imagination. That mansion was not a place in some heavenly house, but simply my desire. If I would make a living representation of the state desired, and then enter that state and abide in that state, I would realize it. At the time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money. He explained to me that if I would that night, as I slept in New York City, assume that I was sleeping in my earthly father's house in Barbados, and go sound asleep in that state, that I would realize my trip. Well, I took him at his word and tried it. For 1 month, night after night, as I fell asleep, I assumed I was sleeping in my father's home in Barbados. At the end of my month, an invitation from my family came, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados the early part of December of that year. From then on, I knew I had found this Savior in myself. The old man told me that it would never fail. Even after it happened, I could hardly believe that it would not have happened anyway. That's how strange this whole thing is. On reflection, it happens so naturally. You begin to feel or to tell yourself, well, it would have happened anyway. And you quickly recover from this wonderful experience of yours. It never failed me if I would give the mood, the imagined mood, sensory vividness. I could tell you unnumbered case histories to show you how it works. But in essence, it's simple. You simply know what you want. When you know what you want, you are thinking of it. That is not enough. You must now begin to think from it. Well, how could I think from it? I am sitting here, and I desire to be elsewhere. How could I, while sitting here physically, put myself in imagination at a point in space removed from this room and make that real to me? Quite easily. My imagination puts me in touch inwardly with that state. I imagine that I am actually where I desire to be. Now, can I tell that I am there? There is only one way to prove that I am there. For what a man sees when he describes his world is as he describes it relative to himself. So what the world looks like depends entirely upon where I stand when I make my observation. So if, as I describe my world, it is related to that point in space I imagine that I am occupying, then I must be there. I am not there physically, no, but I am there in my imagination, and my imagination is my real self. And where I go in imagination and make it real, there I shall go in the flesh also. When in that state I fall asleep, it is done. I have never seen it fail. So this is the simple technique on how to use your imagination to realize your every objective. Here is a very healthy and productive exercise for the imagination. Something that you should do daily. Daily relive the day as you wish you had lived it, revising the scenes to make them conform to your ideals. For instance, suppose the day's mail brought disappointing news. Revise the letter. Mentally rewrite it and make it conform to the news you wish you had received. Or suppose you didn't get the letter you wish you had received. Write yourself the letter and imagine that you received such a letter. Let me tell you a story that took place in New York not very long ago. In my audience sat this lady who had heard me on numberless times. I was telling the story of revision, that man, not knowing the power of imagination, he goes to sleep at the end of his day, tired and exhausted, accepting as final all the events of the day. And I was trying to show that man should, at that moment, before he sleeps, he should rewrite the entire day and make it conform to the day he wished he had experienced. Here is the way a lady wisely used this law of revision. It appears that 2 years ago, she was ordered out of her daughter-in-law's home. For 2 years, there was no correspondence. She had sent her grandson at least 24 presents in that interval, but not one was ever acknowledged. Having heard the story of revision, this is what she did. As she retired at night, she mentally constructed 2 letters. One she imagined coming from her grandson, and the other from her daughter-in-law. In these letters they expressed deep affection for, and wondered why she had not called to see them. This she did for 7 consecutive nights, holding in her imaginary hand the letter she imagined she had received, and reading these letters over and over until it aroused within her the satisfaction of having heard. Then she slept. On the 8th day, she received a letter from her daughter-in-law. On the inside there were 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from the daughter-in-law. They practically duplicated the imaginary letters that this grandmother had written to herself 8 days before. This art of revision can be used in any department of your life. Take the matter of health. Suppose you were ill. Bring before your mind's eye the image of a friend. Put upon that face an expression which implies that he or she sees in you that which you want the whole world to see. Just imagine he is saying to you that he has never seen you look better, and you reply, I have never felt better. Suppose your foot was injured. Then do this. Construct mentally a drama which implies that you are walking, that you're doing all the things that you would do if the foot was normal, and do it over and over and over until it takes on the tones of reality. Whenever you do in your imagination that which you would like to do in the outer world, that you will do in the outer world. The one requisite is to arouse your attention in a way and to such intensity that you become wholly absorbed in the revised action. You will experience an expansion and refinement of the senses by this imaginative exercise, and eventually achieve vision in the inner world. The abundant life promised us is ours to enjoy now, but not until we have the sense of the Creator as our imagination can we experience it. Persistent imagination, centered in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. This alone is the means of fulfilling the intention. Every stage of man's progress is made by the conscious, voluntary exercise of the imagination. Then you will understand why all poets have stressed the importance of controlled, vivid imagination. Listen to this one by the great William Blake. In your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Try it, and you too will prove that your imagination is the Creator.
For a moment, take a deep breath. Let go of every thought that ties you to the world outside. There is something I must tell you, something that will change your life forever. You have been searching, trying, hoping, and yet the one thing that holds you back is your inability to feel. You want to see proof first, to touch it, to grasp it with your hands, but this is not how creation works. The secret lies in your ability to assume, to believe, and most importantly, to feel that what you desire is already yours. Right now, I ask you, what do you want? Is it love, success, wealth, health? It does not matter, for all things are possible when you learn to feel. The moment you allow yourself to step into the reality of your wish fulfilled, the unseen forces move to bring it into form. You do not need permission from the world. You do not need to beg, to struggle, to chase. You only need to shift within, to accept without resistance that your desire is already yours. Tonight, before you sleep, I ask you to do this. Enter that drowsy state, that quiet moment before dreams take over, and imagine yourself living the life you desire. But do not just see it. Feel it. Feel the warmth of love if you seek companionship. Feel the joy of success if you desire wealth. Feel the ease of health if you long for healing. Hold on to that feeling until it becomes natural, until it feels like home. Release it. Walk in faith. Do not search for signs. The world must follow what you have already accepted as true. You are the creator, the architect of your own destiny. When you feel something is real, it is already done. There is a hidden force within you, one that has been overlooked, dismissed, and misunderstood. It is not found in effort, struggle, or force, yet it has the power to shape your reality, to turn your desires into tangible experiences. This force is feeling. You have been taught to believe that hard work, persistence, and external actions are the primary tools for success. You have been told that if you want something, you must chase it relentlessly, work tirelessly, and fight against the odds. But what if I told you that the secret is not in effort, but in knowing, in assuming, in feeling your desire as already fulfilled? This is the key that unlocks the unseen and brings it into form. Right now, think of the one thing you truly desire. Perhaps it is financial abundance, a loving relationship, vibrant health, or success in a chosen field. Whatever it may be, notice how your mind instinctively calculates how it will come, how long it will take, or whether it is even possible. This is the conditioning of the physical world, a world that demands proof before belief. But creation does not work this way. The truth is the reverse. Believe first, and the proof will follow. Everything you have in your life right now is a reflection of past assumptions and dominant feelings. You did not consciously struggle for every single thing you possess. Much of it came naturally because at some level you felt it was yours. The house you live in, the people you interact with, the circumstances you find yourself in, all of it was once an invisible feeling, a silent assumption, a state you occupied within before it materialized without. The mistake many make is trying to force a new reality while still feeling lack, doubt, or desperation. They visualize wealth while feeling poor. They affirm love while feeling lonely. They work hard but carry the underlying belief that success is difficult. This contradiction keeps them stuck, for it is not the thought alone that manifests, but the feeling behind it. Feeling is the substance of creation. It is the energy that molds reality. You must learn to assume the feeling of already having what you desire. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself living in the fullness of your wish fulfilled, do not merely see it, feel it. Feel the peace of abundance, the security of success, the joy of love. Let it sink into your being until it feels natural, until it no longer feels like a dream, but a memory. This is not daydreaming. This is creation. The moment you accept a feeling as true, reality begins shifting to match it. You may not see changes immediately, but the unseen forces are already at work. Stay faithful to this new feeling, walk in it, speak from it, and most importantly, rest in it. Do not let the outer world deceive you. Circumstances do not matter. Only your inner state does. If you persist in the feeling of your desire fulfilled, the world must conform. It has no choice. For feeling is the secret, and what you feel, you become. Your imagination is the foundation of your reality. Everything you see, touch, and experience in the physical world first existed in the unseen realm of thought. Every great invention, every towering skyscraper, every work of art, and every success story began as an idea, an image held in the mind. But it is not merely thinking or wishing that brings these things to life. It is the assumption that they are real, the feeling of their truth, that causes them to manifest. Your imagination is not a place of idle fantasy, it is the workshop of creation. The reality you live in today is the direct result of what you have imagined and accepted as true in the past. Whether you were aware of it or not, your dominant assumptions shape the course of your life. The relationships you have, the money in your account, the opportunities before you, all of it is a reflection of your inner world. If you wish to change what you see, you must first change what you imagine and feel to be real. Many people believe they are victims of circumstances, but nothing in your external world has power over you unless you accept it as true. The outer world is a shadow, a reflection of your internal state. If you persist in the assumption of lack, struggle, or rejection, your world must mirror that experience. But if you dare to assume and feel the reality of abundance, ease, and love, then your world must shift to reflect that new assumption. Feeling is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. It is not enough to merely think about what you want. You must feel it as if it were already yours. The subconscious mind does not respond to words alone. It responds to emotion, to the depth of conviction behind the thought. If you imagine yourself wealthy while secretly feeling poor, your dominant feeling will win and poverty will persist. But if you assume the feeling of wealth, of security, or financial ease, even before a single dollar appears, the world must rearrange itself to make that assumption real. Your imagination is limitless, and so are the possibilities before you. Nothing is too big, too difficult, or too far beyond reach. The only limits that exist are those you place on yourself through doubt and disbelief. The moment you release these limitations and dwell in the feeling of your desire fulfilled, the world begins to shift. People, events, and opportunities move in ways you could not have predicted. Paths open where there were none before. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The key is persistence. You must remain faithful to your inner vision regardless of what the outer world shows you. Do not be deceived by temporary appearances. The delay between assumption and manifestation is only an illusion meant to test your faith. If you continue to live in the feeling of your desire, without wavering, without doubting, then what you have imagined will harden into fact. Everything begins within. Your imagination creates your reality, and feeling is the force that brings it to life. Assume the best, feel it as real, and watch as your world transforms before your eyes. The world you see around you is not as solid or fixed as it seems. Everything that appears in your reality is merely a reflection of your past thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Your senses tell you that circumstances are real, that what is in front of you is all there is. But this is an illusion. The physical world is not the cause of your experiences. It is the effect. The cause is within you. Most people live as though the outside world has power over them. They react to what they see, hear, and feel, believing that circumstances dictate their emotions, their actions, and their possibilities. If they see lack, they believe in lack. If they experience rejection, they assume they are unworthy. They allow what appears now to determine what they will continue to experience. But if you live this way, you are merely chasing shadows. You are allowing the past to repeat itself because you are holding on to what your senses tell you is true. If you wish to change your reality, you must first detach from what your senses report. Do not let the external world define you. It is not permanent. It is not unchangeable. It is simply a reflection of what you once assumed to be true. To create something new, you must turn your attention inward and shift your inner state. You must feel differently first, before the world can reflect it back to you. Think of a mirror. If you frown into it, it does not smile back at you. The image only changes when you change. Reality works the same way. If you feel poor, neglected, or unworthy, the world will continue to reflect that back to you. But if you assume a new feeling, if you persist in the belief that you are abundant, loved, and successful, the mirror must change. It has no choice. The world is only responding to what you assume to be true. This is why detachment is essential. If you remain emotionally tied to what your senses show you, you will keep reinforcing the same reality. You must rise above appearances and live from a deeper knowing. The knowing that what you feel within now is what will soon become real in the world outside. Ignore the current circumstances if they do not align with your desires. They are nothing more than echoes of old beliefs. They are not permanent. They are not final. Detachment does not mean ignoring your responsibilities or withdrawing from life. It means refusing to be controlled by the illusion of lack, failure, or limitation. It means choosing your inner state rather than letting the world choose it for you. When you master this, you become free. You no longer react to life, you create it. Your only job is to hold on to the feeling of what you desire as if it is already true. The world will catch up. It must. The unseen always precedes the seen. Change how you feel and reality will follow. Let go of doubt, stop reacting, and trust in the unseen power within you. Your world will transform before your eyes. You do not need to beg for what is already yours. You do not need to wish, to hope, or to look outside of yourself for signs that your desire is coming. If you truly understood the power within you, you would know that desire itself is proof of its fulfillment. The moment you desire something, it already exists in an unseen reality. Your only task is to dwell in the end, to assume and feel that it is already yours. Most people live in a state of waiting. They hope, they long, they wish for a future in which their dreams will come true. But in doing so, they keep their desire in the future always just out of reach. They send signals to their subconscious mind that they do not have what they want, and so the world reflects that lack. The secret is not in waiting, but in assuming, in stepping into the state of already having it. Think of your deepest desire. Instead of seeing it as something separate from you, something you must chase or work for, imagine it as already fulfilled. How would you feel if you had it right now? How would you move, speak, and think if it were already done? Let that feeling consume you. Let it become your natural state. The more you dwell in this feeling, the more real it becomes, until the world has no choice but to conform. You do not need to know how your desire will manifest. That is not your concern. The world will rearrange itself in ways you cannot predict. Opportunities will arise, circumstances will shift, and people will play their part, all aligning to bring your assumption into reality. But you must remain faithful to the end result. You must persist in the feeling of fulfillment, regardless of what the outer world currently shows you. This is where many people fail. They begin to assume, to feel the reality of their wish, but then they look around and see no immediate change. Doubt creeps in. They check for signs, they question whether it is working, and they slip back into their old state of longing. This wavering undoes their work. To manifest what you desire, you must remain unmoved by appearances. You must trust that what you have assumed is already in motion, even if there is no visible evidence yet. Think of planting a seed. You do not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. You trust the process, knowing that beneath the surface, unseen forces are at work. The same is true for your desires. Once you have assumed them to be true, your only job is to live in that state, to think, feel, and act as though it is already done. This is the secret of effortless creation. When you stop trying to make things happen and instead dwell in the end, reality bends to match your inner world. What once seemed impossible will unfold naturally, without force or struggle. Simply be the person who already has what they desire, and the world will reflect it. It is law. Every night as you close your eyes and drift into sleep, you stand at the doorway of creation. In this drowsy, relaxed state, your conscious mind fades, and your subconscious becomes highly impressionable. It no longer argues, doubts, or questions. It simply accepts. This is the most powerful moment to reshape your reality, to implant the feeling of your wish fulfilled so deeply that it must manifest in the world around you. Most people go to sleep in a state of worry, regret, or frustration. They replay the troubles of the day, dwell on their struggles, and unknowingly impress these negative feelings upon their subconscious. The next day, they wake up to more of the same circumstances because they have unknowingly recreated them in their sleep. But you can use this time differently. You can enter the state of the wish fulfilled and allow your subconscious to make it real. Before sleep, let go of the outer world. Do not concern yourself with what is happening, what has happened, or what may come. None of that matters. All that matters is the reality you are about to create within. Close your eyes, relax your body, and enter a state of calm. Feel the heaviness of sleep approaching, but remain aware enough to direct your thoughts. This is the perfect moment to assume the feeling of your desire already being yours. See yourself in the life you want, not as an observer, but as a participant. If your desire is love, feel the warmth of it surrounding you. If it is success, hear the words of praise spoken to you. If it is abundance, sense the security and ease of having more than enough. Make the scene as vivid as possible, but more importantly, let it be natural. Do not force it. Let it unfold effortlessly, as though you are recalling a memory rather than creating a fantasy. The key is not just to visualize, but to feel. Feeling is the language of the subconscious. If you simply watch images in your mind without emotion, you are only daydreaming. But the moment you attach a deep, genuine feeling to the scene, as though it is happening now, your subconscious accepts it as truth. And what the subconscious accepts as true, it must bring to life. Persist in this feeling until sleep takes over. Let yourself drift off in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. This is not a time to think about how it will happen or to question whether it is working. This is a time to surrender to the feeling of already having what you want. By doing this, you impress your subconscious with the new reality, and it will work tirelessly to manifest it in ways beyond your comprehension. When you wake, resist the urge to doubt. Do not look at the outer world for immediate proof. Simply trust that the seed has been planted and allow it to unfold. The world you wake up to will soon begin to change, aligning itself with the assumption you fell asleep in. This is the secret of effortless creation. If you sleep each night in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the day will come when you no longer have to imagine it, because it will be your reality. Faith is not hoping, wishing, or waiting for proof. Faith is feeling a deep inner knowing that what you have assumed is already yours. The world may show you nothing yet, there may be no physical evidence, but the moment you feel something as real within, it has already begun to materialize. Most people believe only in what they can see, hear, or touch. They wait for confirmation from the outside world before they allow themselves to believe. But this is not faith. Faith does not require proof. Faith is the ability to feel something into being, to trust in the unseen so completely that it must appear in the seen. Right now, whatever you desire, whether it is love, success, wealth, or healing, exists as a possibility. It is not separate from you. The only thing keeping it at a distance is your belief that it is not yet real. But the moment you accept it within, the moment you feel its reality before seeing it, the process of manifestation begins. Your subconscious takes that feeling as truth, and the world around you starts to shift to reflect it. Most people sabotage their own desires by looking for evidence too soon. They assume their wish fulfilled for a moment, then immediately check their surroundings to see if anything has changed. When they see the same circumstances, they doubt, they question, and they fall back into their old state of lack. This wavering cancels out their assumption. You must persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, regardless of what the physical world shows you. Think of a seed planted in the soil. The moment you plant it, the process of growth has already begun, even though you cannot see it yet. If you keep digging it up to check if it is growing, you will only delay its progress. The same is true for your desires. Once you have assumed them as real within, leave them undisturbed. Trust that the unseen forces are working to bring them into form. Feeling is the secret ingredient. It is not enough to simply say, "I believe." You must feel the reality of your desire. If you desire love, feel the warmth and joy of being in that loving relationship now. If you desire success, feel the confidence, the satisfaction, the ease of already being successful. Do not wait for the world to give you permission to feel this way. Feel it now, and the world will follow. Faith is not passive. It is an active state of being. It is living as though your desire is already a fact, speaking as though it is done, walking as though you are the person who already has it. When you truly embody this feeling, you will no longer need proof, because you know it is done. And once you know it is done within, it must become done without. This is the great mystery of creation. The world does not shape your belief shapes the world. Change your inner feeling, hold firm in your faith, and reality will bend to match it. Everything you seek, love, success, abundance, or peace, begins within you. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. When you learn to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, to trust in the unseen, and to persist in that inner knowing, you become the master of your reality. There is no need to struggle, chase, or doubt. Simply feel it as real, and the world will rearrange itself to match your assumption. Do not be deceived by what your senses show you today. The circumstances you see are only the echoes of past thoughts and beliefs. But you are not bound by them. At any moment, you can step into a new state of being, a new assumption, and watch as your world transforms before you. The key is faith. Not blind hope, but the deep, unwavering feeling that it is already done. If you can fall asleep in the state of your fulfilled desire, if you can carry that knowing throughout your day, and if you can trust that the unseen is more real than the seen, then nothing will be impossible for you. You are the creator of your reality. Feel it, believe it, and it must be so.
I want you to imagine for a moment that the entire universe is conspiring in your favor, that every delay, every redirection, every moment of uncertainty is not an obstacle, but a blessing cloaked in disguise. Imagine that there is not a single atom, not a single breath you take, not a single step you walk that isn't being orchestrated for your highest good. Imagine that behind the curtain of appearances, behind what your senses report to you, everything is working out perfectly for you, even if it doesn't look like it. I am here to tell you that this is not mere fantasy. This is law. This is the truth that governs your entire life, whether you recognize it or not. What you assume to be true, what you believe with conviction, becomes the life you live. You see, we are told, according to your faith, be it unto you. And faith is nothing but persistence in the assumption that something unseen is real. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you align with that law. You place yourself in harmony with the pattern of fulfillment. You walk, speak, and think from the end where the desired outcome has already happened. You do not ask how. You do not look for signs. You do not beg the universe. You simply dwell in the feeling of certainty, in the knowing that your reality bends to your assumption. There was once a woman who came to me, broken, defeated by life's apparent injustices. She said to me, "Neville, I have done everything. I have prayed, affirmed, visualized, but my life remains the same. What am I doing wrong?" And I said to her, "You are doing all these things from the standpoint of someone who lacks, who does not have, who hopes it will work out, but fears it may not. You must reverse it. You must act as if it has already worked out. You must feel the relief now. Live from the end. She began to take my words to heart. She stopped asking for change and began assuming the change had already occurred. She walked into rooms with a quiet confidence. She no longer waited for signs to believe. She believed first, and then the signs followed. The job came. The relationship improved. Her health transformed. But more than any of that, her inner world shifted. She lived in peace, in certainty, in power. You see, to act as if everything always works out for you is not arrogance. It is not delusion. It is the recognition of your divine inheritance. You are not some accidental product of chance. You are imagination itself, and imagination creates reality. Your world is your mirror. It reflects what you persistently assume to be true. What do you believe when things don't go your way? Do you spiral into fear? Do you assume failure? Or do you remember that appearances are only shadows cast by your inner light? I tell you, everything can change in an instant if you will. But assume it already has. You must feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must enter the state of the solution, not the problem. I have said before, and I will say it again, man is all imagination, and God is within you as your own wonderful human imagination. When you imagine that everything is working out for you and you feel it deeply, you are speaking the language of God. You are commanding the world to take shape in your favor, and it must obey. It must. Do not be swayed by the evidence of your senses. Your senses show you what has been, not what must be. The moment you accept a new idea and clothe it in feeling, you have planted the seed. Whether or not you see immediate results is irrelevant. The seed is growing, and if you persist in the assumption that everything always works out for you, that seed becomes a tree, and that tree bears fruit. It is easy to believe when everything looks favorable. But the true power is found when you believe in spite of appearances. When the world says no, but your inner world says yes. When the bank account is low, but you walk as one who is already abundant. When the relationship seems lost, but you live from the state where love is already restored. How does one live like this, you ask? You begin with imagination. You close your eyes and see not with the eyes of flesh, but with the eyes of spirit. You imagine what it would feel like if you knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that everything was working out. You let that feeling saturate your being, and you carry it with you into the waking world. That feeling is the prayer. That feeling is the key, for feeling is the secret. Think of a time when something seemed to go wrong, but later you realized it was the best thing that could have happened. Think of the jobs you didn't get, the people who left you, the delays that frustrated you. All of them, in hindsight, were not mistakes. They were stepping stones. They were divine redirections. What if you could trust that in every moment? What if you could live from that trust now? The truth is, you already are the person who has everything working out. You already exist in that state. All states exist. Creation is finished. Your task is not to make something happen, but to select the state you desire and dwell in it. You move from one state to another by assumption, by conviction, by persistence. Every time you say to yourself, "It's always working out for me," you are reaffirming your place in that state. You are shifting your identity. You are becoming the one who lives in alignment with divine favor. And the world, being a faithful mirror, must show you what you assume. Let me remind you that it is not effort that brings about change. It is not struggle. It is not hours of laborious prayer. It is simply the acceptance of the end. If you can accept the end as real, now then the means will unfold naturally. Life will rearrange itself to reflect your inner world. I once knew a man who lived in constant fear of things going wrong. Every small inconvenience became a sign of doom for him. And surely life obeyed. His car broke down, his health suffered, his relationships crumbled. I told him, "My dear friend, you are not unlucky. You are simply faithful to the wrong assumption. Change it." He began to test this truth. He began to say, "Everything is always working out for me," not with hope, but with certainty. And though at first nothing seemed different, he did not waver. And then miracles began to appear. Unexpected checks arrived. Opportunities opened. He smiled more. He slept better. He had become someone new, not by doing more, but by assuming more wisely. You must decide right now that you are done entertaining doubt. You must become faithful to your vision, not your fear. Faithful to your future, not your past. The world you see is the outpicturing of your assumption. You do not change the reflection by scratching the mirror. You change the reflection by changing yourself. I am telling you, act as if everything always works out for you. And by act, I do not mean to pretend. I mean to live from the truth of it. Think from it. Feel from it. Let it be your inner atmosphere. And as within, so without. The law is never broken. The law is always working. It is your servant, waiting for your instruction. What would you do if you knew that success was guaranteed? What risks would you take? What steps would you stop delaying? What words would you say? What love would you give? What dreams would you pursue? Act from that version of yourself. For that version is not a fantasy. It is you, clothed in courage and trust. You are not here to merely react to life. You are here to create it. You are here to mold it with your inner conversation. Listen to what you are telling yourself when no one is watching. Are you affirming the outcome you desire, or the one you fear? Change the conversation. Begin to speak only that which you want to see realized. I am always supported. I am guided. I am favored. Life loves me. Things always work out for me. You will find yourself walking differently, talking differently. People will notice your energy. They won't be able to name it, but they will feel it, because you are living from the end. You are living from the kingdom within. The power is not outside of you. It never was. It is in your ability to assume the best and persist in that assumption. No matter what the outer world says, you stand firm in your inner knowing. That is true power. That is mastery. I urge you to test this. Not tomorrow, but now. Begin this moment to act as if everything is working out for you. When something unexpected happens, smile. Say to yourself, I may not see the whole picture yet, but I know this is part of it working out. And soon you will see the pattern. You will see the wisdom in every turn. You will live with peace because you will know the truth. Your job is not to control the how. Your job is to maintain the inner state. If you can do that, the rest will take care of itself. Life responds to the dominant assumption. And when your dominant assumption is that everything always works out for you, then life has no choice but to conform. You are the author. You are the dreamer. You are not a victim of fate. You are a creator of form. And what you imagine in faith, you will encounter in fact. So go forth from this moment on, with the knowing that you are already on the path. Everything is unfolding perfectly. Trust that. Assume that. And act as if it cannot fail, because it cannot. You were never meant to struggle, to chase, to fight against the tide. You were meant to align, to allow, to assume with confidence and joy. Life becomes effortless when you live from the end. When you claim the feeling of already having that which you desire, the universe bends to your conviction. You are divine imagination. That is your true identity. And your world is clay in your hands. Mold it with love. Mold it with certainty. Mold it with the deep, unwavering knowing that everything is always working out for you. And it shall be so. Let us go deeper still. You must understand, this is not merely a psychological trick or a motivational mantra to make you feel better in the moment. This is metaphysics. This is law. This is the foundation upon which reality stands. The very moment you dwell in the inner conviction that everything is working out for you, you set into motion forces unseen that reshape the entire fabric of your experience. And while the change may not always be immediate to your senses, it is immediate in the realm that precedes form. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you stop fighting with the world. You stop resisting what is. You surrender, not in weakness, but in faith. You cease arguing with appearances, and instead you plant your feet firmly in your assumption. And that assumption becomes your new foundation, your new center of gravity. From that center, you can move mountains. To the world, it may seem irrational. It may appear foolish. They will say you are unrealistic, that you are ignoring facts. But I say to you, the facts are only shadows of former beliefs. They are the residue of prior assumptions. If you would but persist, the facts will change. The outer must follow the inner. It has no choice. It is law. Take no thought for the morrow, said the Master. Why? Because he understood that worry, doubt, and fear are nothing but prayers for what you do not want. Instead, he pointed us toward the kingdom within. He taught us to live from the state of already having. When you pray, believe that you have received, and you shall receive. This is not metaphor. It is instruction. Precise divine instruction. Now imagine walking through your day with the inner knowing that life is unfolding in your favor. A delay at the airport, this is part of it working out. A rejection from someone you love, this too is working for me. an unexpected expense, even this is a setup for greater abundance. You start to live from the end of peace, not turmoil. From the end of success, not failure. The more you live in that state, the more your world becomes ordered by it. You draw to yourself people, events, and opportunities that match the tone of your inner world, not by trying to control them, but by embodying the version of yourself to whom these things already belong. You don't have to beg for anything. You don't have to hustle, chase, or strive. You have only to dwell in the state of knowing, the state of gratitude before the manifestation, the state of the wish fulfilled. You walk through life with an invisible crown on your head, not of arrogance but of assurance, because you know who you are. You know that your assumption is causative. You know that you are one with the source that forms the heavens and the earth. When you forget, because we all forget, come back to the state. Close your eyes and remember. Feel again what it feels like to be supported, loved, protected, favored. Feel it in your bones. Feel it until it feels real. For that is the test. Can you feel something so deeply that it becomes more real to you than the evidence of your senses? If you can do that, the world must catch up. It must reflect your inner knowing. The world is not solid. It is not fixed. It is fluid, malleable, shaped by consciousness. What you assume to be true hardens into fact. So why not assume the best? Why not assume that everything, yes, everything is rigged in your favor? You must understand that this is not something that works only sometimes. It is working always. The question is not whether the law works, but what are you impressing upon it? Are you filling the mold of your mind with faith or with fear? Are you rehearsing limitation or celebrating fulfillment? If you want to change your life, you must change your assumption. And to change your assumption, you must first catch yourself in the act of doubting. Notice the story you are telling yourself throughout the day. Is it a story of what if it doesn't work out, or is it a story of everything is already working out? Let me remind you, you don't need permission. You don't need evidence. You don't need anyone to agree with you. You need only your imagination and your willingness to dwell in the end. The end is what gives life to the means. The end is the cause. Live there and you will watch the whole world rearrange itself around your conviction. You are not here to try. You are here to be. You are not here to hope. You are here to know. And when you know deeply that everything is working out for you, you become immovable. You become unshakable. Storms may come, winds may howl, but you remain centered. You remain still, because your peace does not come from circumstance. It comes from assumption. It comes from the state within. That is true mastery. Not the ability to control events, but the ability to maintain your state regardless of them. The outer world becomes a theater in which your inner world plays itself out. You are the writer. You are the director. You are the actor. And the script is whatever you assume it to be. Now let this not be merely theory for you. Test it. Try it. Begin now. Pick one situation in your life that appears uncertain. Close your eyes and see the outcome you desire. Feel what it feels like to know it is done. To know that it is already yours. Carry that feeling with you. Do not drop it. Let nothing persuade you otherwise. And then observe. Watch how life moves. Watch how things align. Watch how miracles unfold, not because you forced them, but because you assumed them. You are never waiting on the world to change. You are only ever waiting on yourself to assume the change is already complete. When that inner shift happens, everything changes. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances turn in your favor. Doors open. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. All of it begins with one simple truth: everything is always working out for you. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your dominant thought. Whisper it when you wake. Declare it when you walk. Sing it in silence. And in time, you will see that it was never the world that needed to change. It was only ever your assumption. You do not need to earn your good. You need only to accept it. And when you accept it as already true, life must match your acceptance. This is not hope. It is law. This is not magic. It is principle. Assume it is done. Feel it is done. Live as though it is done. And it is done. Now let us bring our attention to the simplicity of this practice. Many make the mistake of complicating the law. They seek advanced techniques, rituals, affirmations, and elaborate routines. But I tell you, it is the simplest act of all that yields the most profound results. The act of assuming, of entering the state, mentally and emotionally, and remaining there. You do not need a candle. You do not need the perfect moon phase. You do not need to repeat something 100 times. You need only to know it is done. What is assumption, if not a silent agreement with God? When you say in your heart, "This too shall work in my favor," you are aligning yourself with the divine intelligence that orchestrates all things. You are stepping into the current of life rather than fighting it. You are surrendering to the truth that all things are unfolding exactly as they must, to bring you to the manifestation of your desire. You may not always understand the path. You may not always see why certain detours appear. But I assure you, when you persist in the inner state, those detours become miracles in disguise. They become the invisible hand of grace, moving people, circumstances, and events with precision. But you must remain faithful, not to what you see, but to what you know within. There will be moments when everything around you seems contrary. The outer world will tempt you to abandon your assumption. The bank account may empty. The person may walk away. The opportunity may vanish. But these are merely tests, not from some punishing universe, but from your own deeper self. It is your inner reality, asking, will you remain loyal to the state, or will you react to the shadows? If you remain loyal, if you walk in the knowing that all things are working for your highest good, you will witness the rearrangement. You will look back in awe and say, what I once called a setback was my greatest setup. What I once called a problem was the portal to my answered prayer. This is how the law works. It bends to belief. It conforms to conviction. And conviction is born not of repetition, but of identification. You must identify as the one for whom everything always works out. Not sometimes. Not when you're lucky. Not when the stars align. Always, even now. As you hear these words, you are being invited into that state. You are being called to remember who you are. Not a victim of life, but the cause of it. Not a wanderer in chaos, but a creator in command. You were never meant to struggle. You were never meant to strive. You were meant to assume, to feel, and to receive. How do you know when you are in the state? You feel relief. You feel joy without reason. You smile at the silence. You are no longer grasping, chasing, needing. You are still. You are certain. You are aware that what you seek is already yours in the unseen, and therefore must come to pass. Do not concern yourself with when. Time is the servant of assumption. It bends and folds around your belief. What takes others years may come to you in days. What others must labor for, you will attract with ease. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. You are aligning with the greater truth that your inner world is primary, and the outer must echo it. You need not convince others. You need not argue with logic. Simply remain faithful. Carry your inner conviction quietly, like a secret treasure, and let the fruits of your faith speak for themselves. For when you live in the state of everything is always working out for me, your life becomes a testimony, a walking miracle, a living prayer answered. Others will ask, how did you do it? And you will say, I assumed, I believed, I felt, I walked as though it were already true, and the world had no choice but to reflect it. Let this be your daily practice, not effort but assumption, not hustle but inner rest. Wake in the morning and step into the feeling. Walk through your day and return to the feeling. Rest at night in the peace of the fulfilled desire. Do not waver. Do not look back. Press forward in faith. When the winds of doubt blow, you anchor yourself in the state. When fear whispers its lies, you reply with your truth. Even this is working out for me. You speak it until it becomes your dominant vibration. And once it does, the world around you cannot help but align. You are not asking the universe to bless you. You are recognizing that it already has. You are not trying to create. You are revealing what is already true in the realm of spirit. You are simply moving from knowing to knowing, from fulfillment to fulfillment, without resistance. It is here, in this sacred inner posture, that miracles become ordinary. What once felt like fantasy becomes your new normal. You begin to expect the best, not because you are naive, but because you are awake to the truth of who you are. You are God in motion, imagination clothed in form, and when you assume, you create. So do not wait for the evidence to begin believing. Let your belief be the evidence. Let your assumption be the cause. Let your inner world dictate the terms. Everything you see, touch, and experience is but the echo of a prior state. If you would change the echo, change the state. Now pause and breathe. Feel the truth of these words, not in your mind but in your spirit. Let it settle. Let it take root. Begin to walk with the poise of the fulfilled. Begin to speak from the place of completion. Begin to look upon the world with eyes that see beyond appearances. For the unseen is more real than the seen, and what is real in imagination shall become real in form. I say to you again, act as if everything always works out for you, because it does, because it must, because you have declared it so, and your declaration is the seed from which reality grows. And so, beloved, let this be your final awakening. You are not at the mercy of fate, chance, or circumstance. You are the operant power. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you, as you, for you. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you are not pretending, you are proclaiming. You are standing in the authority of one who knows their imagination is God, and their assumption is law. Let the world call it delusion. Let the facts scream otherwise. You remain unmoved, for you have seen the truth. You have felt the power. You have touched the divine in the silence of your own consciousness, and you know now, with certainty, that nothing is too great, too far, or too impossible. You need only assume, and remain faithful. Walk forward now, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. Wear the feeling of the wish fulfilled, like a second skin. Let it shape your tone, your steps, your silence. And as you do, you will watch in quiet wonder, as life bows to your belief, and the unseen becomes seen. This is your secret. This is your power. Act as if everything always works out for you, and it will. It always has. It always will, because you have finally remembered who you are.